have been watching and reacting to reality dating shows, and I see the same dating and relationship mistakes again and again. That's why I am so excited to bring this video to you, because dating isn't just about finding the right person. It's about understanding who you become in a relationship and how you show up emotionally and relationally. And most people don't realize that the way they show up on a date is actually shaping their dating experience.
Well, you girls were right. Noah is trying to hide me. He seems so into me, and I don't know. I just feel like such an idiot because I gave up like a very important work thing to be here with him.
When I'm older, I don't want to be sad like this. Joanna's like 50 and she's being a pick-me girl. I want to be empowered and confident when I'm middle-aged.
So this is what I mean when I say we don't just meet another person, we meet parts of ourselves we didn't expect. So in the clip that I just showed you, she gave up a lot to be with the person that she just started dating and ultimately realized that she was giving up a part of who she is. So if dating leaves you anxious, overthinking, or questioning yourself, you are not alone. And it may not be that you're doing it all wrong. It may be that you're missing a deeper layer, and a layer that influences how you choose, connect, and stay in a relationship. And those deeper layers are what I want to share with you today, how to go deeper when dating. Dating is so hard, especially in today's world. Dating apps have changed the pace of connection, creating constant comparison and pressure to decide quickly. Do I swipe right? Do I swipe left? Am I choosing correctly? It's no wonder so many people feel discouraged, disconnected, or even unsure of how to date anymore, whether they're using apps or not. Hi, I'm Dr. Pam, therapist and relationship counselor. Welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. And if you're new here, welcome. I am so passionate about helping you grow both in your relationships and yourself. And if that is something that you would like more of, I'd love for you to subscribe so that we can keep growing together. So in this video, I want to share 5 things that I wish more people knew before they started dating. And I'm going to wrap this up with a piece of advice that I give to everyone that I work with who's dating. It's often the advice that people struggle to hear, and it is sometimes even resisted, but it is incredibly important to understand. Okay, let's start with something that I believe changes everything when you date, and that is relational self-awareness. Here's an interesting question to ask yourself. Who am I when I date? It's important to have self-awareness overall, but it is just as important to ask yourself which parts of you show up when you're dating, or which parts of you don't show up when you're dating. I have worked with many intelligent, growth-oriented, successful people who are grounded and confident in most areas of their life, and yet when they begin dating, entirely different parts of them emerge. Parts that feel anxious, unsure, overly accommodating, and suddenly self-doubting.
Maybe I just wanted to look nice?
God, you've gone full Stepford wife. No, you're right. You know, you haven't changed a bit.
Okay, I hear you. I guess I could be done trying to impress Esther, and I should probably stop bending over backwards to get everyone else to like me. And I should stop pretending to like basketball.
Thank you.
This is the moment people rarely notice when they start adjusting themselves to be chosen. This is how people quietly leave themselves to keep the connection. This doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you. Don't think of these challenges as a flaw. Think of it as information for your growth work. And then, picture this, you are getting ready for your date, and then you start worrying. Do I look okay? Will they like me? What will we talk about? What will they think of me?
Because I have my date with Noah tonight, and it's like consuming me.
Oh my God, it's consuming you. Joanne, you met this guy like 48 hours ago.
48 hours ago, she met him, and she is all consumed about how she will show up on the first date. The necessary work is to flip that script from what will they think of me to I'm curious, will I like them? And I want to be liked for who I am, and that's who will show up on this date. That's an important shift because it moves you out of self-judgment and self-doubt into being yourself. It reminds you that you're not there to audition. You're there to experience a possible connection.
Ah, prego!
It's a sport coat.
Prego!
Thank you. I love Billy Joel.
Prego!
Respect.
Prego!
Why'd you say that so loud?
Was it loud?
Yeah,
Okay.
kinda.
Okay.
He's auditioning for her parents, and it is a complete turnoff for Joanne because in this moment he is completely lacking authenticity because he's nervous. So before you go on a date, take a moment to remember the qualities that you bring to a relationship. Your warmth, your curiosity, your capacity to listen, your emotional depth. Walk into a date holding those truths rather than waiting to see if that person, or in this case, if the family will like you. And if you want to go even deeper, you can explore where those beliefs and self-doubt came from. That's where real growth happens, not by judging yourself, but by understanding the experiences that shape how you see yourself in relationships. So a few questions that you can ask yourself when you're dating. Am I being myself or am I trying to impress? Do I notice myself shrinking, over-functioning, or overly accommodating? Do I feel relaxed and comfortable or am I tense? And if you are either, explore why. What is making you feel comfortable or what is making you feel tense? Dating isn't just about being liked, of course. It's about staying connected to yourself while being seen. Also, and this is so important, if you find yourself falling fast for another person, remember this: slow the pace. Even when the chemistry is strong, you might feel a powerful pull, but there is still so much to learn about this person, not just about who this person is, but how they relate in a relationship. I'll talk more about that in a moment. For now, let yourself slow down, put the brakes on, and take time to really get to know them at a deeper level.
Hand me your ice cream. Put your back down.
This is where people confuse intensity with intimacy. Chemistry can feel powerful, but it doesn't always mean you're safe or you're seen.
Having trouble computing how you go from a kiss that passionate and then you just don't respond for over 3 hours.
This is what happens when chemistry meets uncertainty. Our minds start filling in the blanks. Intensity can feel exciting, but consistency is what builds trust. Anyone can show a lot of emotion in the beginning. What matters is whether they show up in a steady, reliable way over time. Let curiosity replace excitement, or both. Be curious and excited. This is so important. Learn to ask questions when you date, not to interrogate, but to really get to know someone. I focus on a lot of questions to ask when dating in my Love is Blind videos. There's always more to learn about a person. If you want real examples of what this looks like, check out my Love is Blind videos, especially the pod episodes. I walk through the kind of questions that actually help you get to know someone when you're dating.
Trying to decide if I should just leave and never admit I came here.
Okay, did you get my text? Because when you didn't text back, I kind of got in my head about it.
Why didn't you text back?
I didn't even get the text till 20 minutes ago. I left the phone in my car. Sorry about that.
This is why slowing down matters. When we ask instead of assume, we get clarity instead of chaos. Remember, chemistry isn't the green light. It's the information that you gather about the person and how you feel about the way that you show up with that person and how they show up with you. Okay, let's talk about how to navigate those dating apps without losing yourself. One of the most helpful pieces of advice that I can offer you when it comes to dating, especially on the apps, is to get really clear about what you are looking for in a person and in a relationship. And that may sound obvious, But so many people start with surface qualities like, I want someone who's funny, smart, ambitious, honest, and all of those are meaningful traits and they are important. But let's do two things here. First, what are your non-negotiables? That can be anything from I want someone who loves animals to I want to be with someone who understands the complexity of relationships. Or do they value kindness in similar ways? Do they share ideas about care, effort, and emotional responsibility? Do we both believe relationships deserve tending to? These are all questions that you can ask yourself and decide what your non-negotiables are.
Okay, he seemed totally normal while we were messaging each other. Then we sit down for a drink and he starts crying about how his grandmother died.
Oh, that's sad.
No, Morgan, when he was 12.
Ooh.
He said it was, quote, still raw.
Okay. A little bit much.
Obviously, that was a non-negotiable for her. So next, let's go deeper. It helps to ask yourself another question. How do I want to feel in a relationship? When you're first dating, you don't need to know everything. You just need to notice a few important things. First, how do you feel in their presence? Do you feel relaxed or do you feel on edge? Do you feel grounded or like you have to perform? Your body often gives you information before your mind does. Does your body feel relaxed or tense? Second, how do they show up emotionally? Are they present, attentive, and engaged even in small ways? You're not looking for depth yet. We'll get there. You just want availability. Perhaps you are on a second date. Did they remember something that you mentioned on the first date?
Do we really need to tiptoe around all of these issues that make us uncomfortable, or is that part of the problem? Like money and relationships. I think if more people said out loud what they like, what they don't like, they'd realize it's totally normal, and they'd carry around a lot less shame.
Yes.
Well, let's test my theory.
Okay.
This is what emotional availability looks like. Not intensity, just willingness. And so third, is there mutual curiosity? Do they seem genuinely interested in you, or are you doing most of the emotional work? Are you the only one asking questions, or are they the only one talking, which means that they are not asking you questions? You are looking for balance here, a balance of sharing from them and curiosity about you.
Will you tell me one of your secrets?
One of my secrets.
Yeah.
I might need another drink first.
Okay, baby steps.
No, wait. I'll tell you. I learned to read kind of late.
That's really sweet.
Thanks.
Like, how late is late?
Like a grade.
It's not that bad. We gotta go deeper. Just try it.
Yeah?
You know, opening up about something that makes you uncomfortable. It helps people connect to you.
Okay.
She's asking curious questions and he's not shutting down. He's engaging and staying present with her. Asking questions is not meant to, like I said, be an interrogation, but to show genuine interest. So, do they want to know your inner world? Do they remember what matters to you? Do they listen to understand, not just to respond? Being seen is one of the deepest human needs that we have. Also, it is so important to remember this about dating apps. Not everyone is there for the same reason. Some people are genuinely looking for connections. Others may not be as clear, available, or emotionally ready, even if they initially seem sincere. And I can't emphasize this enough. Try not to draw quick conclusions about a person. Early dating is simply a time to gather information, not to assign meaning or make assumptions about that person.
I'm talking about, like, you know, when you find a nice, normal guy and you find fault with him, it's like, I don't know if you actually want to meet somebody.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Remember Greg? I dated him for 8 months. I was utterly obsessed with him.
Yeah, I do remember him, and he did not acknowledge you in public.
Yeah.
She is being challenged for drawing quick conclusions and perhaps fearful of getting close to someone. I've worked with many people who felt hopeful because someone showed up thoughtfully, communicated consistently, and seemed full of green flags, only later to disappear. And while that can be painful, it's also revealing. It shows you something important before you've invested too deeply in the other person.
He's texting me, asking me where I went. What a psychopath.
Wait, did you not tell him where you went?
I just met this guy. I have to tell him every move I make?
Oh my God, save it for the podcast, Joanne.
When someone ghosts you, it is showing you a limitation that they struggle with, not something negative about your worth. And as painful as that can be, it's bittersweet because it also keeps you from building a connection with someone who can't meet you in the way that you deserve. That said, I also want to name something important. I've worked with people who felt the urge to ghost because they were conflict avoidant. They didn't want to hurt the other person. But more than that, they were avoiding their own discomfort around causing pain. In one case, I encouraged someone to communicate honestly instead of disappearing. And when she did that, the other person responded in a very emotionally immature way. And as hard as that was, it gave her valuable clarity. She saw a side of him that would have made conflict in a relationship incredibly difficult. If she had avoided that conversation, she never would have gained that clarity or the confidence in her decision to walk away. Okay, so the third tip that we're going to talk about is, how are you together as a couple? We often focus so much on who the other person is, and that does matter, but it is equally important to shift from do I like them to how do we function together? Because a relationship isn't just about individual qualities. It is about what emerges when two people come together. How do you communicate? How do you navigate differences? And how do you move through conflict? I often say that one of the strongest indicators of a healthy relationship is how a couple approaches conflict. When you watch shows like Love is Blind or Love Island, that's often where things begin to break down during conflict. And it is also what brings many couples into therapy. They're stuck in conflict and don't know how to find their way through it together. Equally important is how repair happens after someone has been hurt in a relationship, because hurt will happen in every relationship. What matters is whether there is space for repair.
I'm so sorry. I know you pushed off work for me, and then I literally hid you from my boss. I totally panicked. I know how much that must have hurt, okay? But Joanne, I don't want to lose you, okay? And I promise, if you just give me a little time, I will work that out.
It did hurt, Noah. And also, you called me your friend.
She was hurt and he took complete ownership. Conflict is challenging, but what happens after is what is so important. Without repair, hurt quietly builds over time. It layers, it hardens, and eventually it turns into resentment. And I always say this, resentment is so toxic in a relationship. So take notice. Do they take responsibility? In the clip that I showed you, he took responsibility. And then you can ask yourself, do they show care about how you feel? In the clip, he acknowledged how much he must have hurt her. And then you can also ask, do they try to reconnect after there's been distance or disconnect or hurt between the two of you? In the clip, he sought her out to repair how he hurt her. You can also get an understanding of the person's capacity for self-reflection. This is one of the most important and least talked about qualities in a person and in a relationship. So look for someone who can say, I can see my part. I need to think about that. I may have gotten that wrong. Growth only happens when someone can look inward without collapsing into shame or defensiveness. Healthy relationships are not conflict-free. Conflict is an opportunity to learn more about each other and deepen your connection. And this next one is subtle but powerful. Do they respect your autonomy? Ask yourself, do I feel I can be myself? Do I feel supported in my independence? Do they celebrate my autonomy rather than feel threatened by it? Love that constrains is not love, it's fear. Also, be mindful of emotional regulation. Notice how this person handles stress, disappointment, and vulnerability. Do they self-soothe or externalize, meaning do they lash out or blame? Can they pause instead of react? Do they take responsibility for their emotional state? Keep in mind, you are not looking for perfection. We all have challenges. What matters is whether both of you are aware of your challenges and doing your best to manage what challenges you bring to a relationship. And speaking of vulnerability in relationships, here's a good example of showing up imperfectly but with vulnerability.
Actually, I've never done this before and it's feeling very scary. Would you mind turning around?
What?
Sure, I'll fine. I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay. Noah, my mom is really emotional and it always pushed my dad away. And I always tried really hard not to be like that. I think I'm realizing an even bigger fear. It is this.
Notice how he leans in toward her in her vulnerability. That tells you something very important about how he responds when someone opens up. So next, let's just talk briefly about something that I see all the time, and that is how to move from seeing potential in a person to mutuality. That means letting go of fixing another person or fantasizing. If you watch Love is Blind, you saw this with Nick and Annie.
I think I was chasing the feeling of being in the pods, of being so in love with somebody that I could picture my life ahead, that I wasn't quite willing to give that up. But watching this back, I can see myself forcing the entire relationship.
Potential is who someone could be or who you hope they might become. Partnership is who they actually are with you, consistently and over time. A relationship isn't built on hope or future possibility. It's built on what is happening right now, in real moments in real life. That's why mutual effort matters more than promise. A person's words can sound beautiful, especially early on, and chemistry can make those words feel even more convincing. But what truly tells you something is follow through, consistency, and care. A healthy connection doesn't feel one-sided. It feels mutual. Emotional availability isn't just about what someone says they feel about you. It's about how they show up when it matters. Do they stay present when things get uncomfortable? Can they have hard conversations without shutting down or disappearing? Do they make room for your emotions, not just their own? Those moments tell you far more than potential ever could. If you're doing most of the emotional work, you're not building intimacy, you're carrying it. So up till now, we've talked about what you feel. This next part is about what you observe, because the truth shows up over time. Notice who initiates, who follows through, and who repairs. These small patterns quietly reveal how emotional responsibility is shared. Pay attention to whether connection feels mutual or if one person is doing most of the work to pull the relationship forward.
But watching this back, I can see myself forcing the entire relationship. And that's when it just starts to spiral. And we just continued to push it and force it. And I was willing to carry the burden up the mountain and make it work. And that's not the marriage I want.
Healthy relationships involve shared effort, not one person carrying the emotional weight. So notice whether words turn into actions. Follow through builds trust, especially in the small everyday moments. And finally, the advice I give to everyone who I counsel who's dating, even those who feel they have found real love, is this. Try not to make major life-altering decisions until you have had at least 2 or 3 years together.
Never really talked to each other. I mean, like, we talked, but we didn't say anything, nothing real. We just had these circular conversations where we never got into anything uncomfortable, and then, you know, suddenly 3 years later, you don't really know each other.
He's talking about his ex-girlfriend, and notice he said we didn't talk about anything uncomfortable. What he is really saying is that there wasn't shared vulnerability. In a relationship, time matters because it allows you to see how someone shows up over time, not just when things are new and exciting or easy, but when life is stressful, disappointing, or uncomfortable. It's during those moments that true partnership emerges. Over time, you begin to see how conflict is handled, how repair happens, and whether emotional availability is consistent or if it's conditional. That kind of knowing can't be rushed. It unfolds through lived experience. Allowing time protects you from making mistakes early on based on early chemistry or hope for long-term compatibility. And please remember this, dating is not about proving your worth or earning connection. It is meant to be a place where you can be yourself and notice who can meet you there. Well, that is a wrap for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.